That's good. Okay, well, welcome to session 6. I'm very glad to be here and really appreciate your showing up and appreciate all the feedback. It's been really, really useful, and all the different perspectives are helpful because other people will come for all the reasons that you're coming, which are all different. So yeah, the feedback is great. Okay, we've got Deb coming in. And there we go. Okay, all right, we'll just let Deb come in and then we'll get started. Good. Hello, Deb. Good evening. Yes. Wonderful. Okay, all right. So we were on 6. So I thought this time that we would just have a go at doing a breathwork exercise without drawing and just have a go with that, simplify it, and just shift that for a minute. So we've got a nice peaceful picture, and I thought we'd just talk through breathing and calming down and do it that way and have a simpler session for an ending. So just to start, I wanted to just slow down and just check in with ourselves and see how you're feeling. Just look internally. We don't need to share that, but just see what's going on in your body at the moment. And if you're calm and quiet or stressed out or just a lot of things going on in your head. So just notice that for a minute. And yeah, if you need to just get yourself settled, whatever, that's just fine. Just take a few deep breaths. And just another person, got Maureen coming in. Yeah. And I just wanted to imagine a place of sanctuary, a place that you like to be. It might be on a beach with a sunset. For me, I often remember my grandparents' house on a lake in Vermont, or somewhere that you feel calm and comfortable. And just take some deep breaths, and we can just shut our eyes for a few minutes. Just take some long, deep breaths and some long exhales. And just take a few minutes to slow down and collect ourselves. And you could shut your eyes or not. Either way is fine. And let's just give ourselves this time to hang out together. Whether it's the beginning or the ending of a busy day, just to hold on and just slow down a little while and be with ourselves. And just notice your jaw. If there's tension there or not. And your throat. And your shoulders. Sort of meandering around the body and just noticing. And your chest. Is there a sense of relaxation or a sense of holding? And your belly. And your hips. Just checking in. Just taking a few minutes to notice. And your right arm, just notice. You've been on the computer all day. Is your wrist tense? Doing some gardening. Could be good tired. And notice your left arm. And just be aware of that part of the body. And then go to your right leg. And just notice what that feels like. Your right foot might be touching the floor. You could wiggle it and just feel the floor. Have that sense of being grounded. And then the left leg. And just notice the leg. And then move to the foot. You might wiggle that one. Just feel the ground below you. And just breathe. And we'll take a few more breaths. And then we'll come back to the room when you're ready. You can open your eyes when you feel like it. And just come back to the room and say hello. Oh, got one more person coming in. Good. So hello, everyone. Yeah. How was that doing it a bit simpler? It's just a bit of a change. You want to unmute yourselves, or you
I liked it a lot, Jean. It helped me get in the right place. That was a good idea.
Yeah, sometimes simple is better. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I enjoyed it too. It was great.
Okay.
Just and just going through my body and just relaxing was wonderful. Thank you.
Yep. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I recently did what's called a yoga nidra meditation, which is basically that, just sort of going around the body and not doing anything, but just noticing, just checking in. And I thought, oh yeah, sometimes that's all I need to be present. It's not that I need to change anything, not that I'm particularly stressed or anything, but just to be here. It can help. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'll get our video up for today. All right, great. Good.
Hey.
Yep. Okay, great. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, I sent a bunch of you an email just asking about video testimonial. The guy I work with is really lovely. He's just very friendly and conversational. And basically what I'm looking for is just some comments about what this has been like for you and what's been useful. And from whatever perspective you're coming from, because you're here for all different reasons, and that's really valid. And other people will be coming for all different sorts of reasons as well. So just giving whatever useful comments of what it has given you is just great, because then it just gives other people a sense of what would they get if they try out the workshop. And hearing it from different voices, not from me, but in your words of what it's, how it has been useful for you. And it's fine if it's, just for the art, for the personal growth, for the calming, whatever it is, your reasons are absolutely fine and valid. So you're not supposed to say anything in particular, but what it's been like for you. So yeah, and hey, if you've got any questions or whatever, just speak up, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, and if you're really not comfortable, say so, and that's okay too. Okay, all right. I will share screen. Good. Okay. All right. So we'll start here. Okay. On this one, it's called Flow Interrupted. And I saw some drawings in I think it was a book from about the 1950s that had some drawings like this. And I thought, wow, I used to do drawings a bit like that when I was about 15. And would draw shapes and draw lines that went around them. And then I thought, wow, it reminds me of sort of a river. And I thought, well, there's two sort of perspectives on this. One is I see the obstacles or the little stones or the whatever in the river. And then I also see the flow. And so I did the drawing twice with different shapes. And the first time I just looked at the obstacles, or just sort of the objects on the page, and then the next time I did it, I was looking at the lines around, at the flow. And it was just sort of interesting, because sometimes when I'm stressed, if I just sort of name what I'm dealing with, and whether they're little small things, it poured rain and I expected to go for a walk, or if it's much bigger things, sometimes when I just acknowledge the different things I'm dealing with, I think, oh, I'm not crazy. Of course, I've had a really busy day. I've had to make lots of decisions, and I don't feel, crazy. I feel very validated because I realize what I'm dealing with. So the first part for me is sort of really just about acknowledgement, and it can be just, superficial. And if you want to do it just as a design, that's absolutely fine too. And then the second round, it was more sort of focusing on flow and resilience, and realizing that whenever challenges come up, we're dealing with them, and you move past these things. So that was the story that I was thinking of in doing this. But you can have your own perspective. So first with this, I was just drawing some shapes, some circles, and you can do it differently or the same. That's absolutely up to you. And I was just drawing a bunch of different circles on the page, different sizes, and all sort of spaced out. And for these ones, I was just working in 2 colors. So again, you can choose how you want to work, but limiting your colors is useful. So just fill your page with a bunch of dots or a bunch of shapes, whatever fits for you. And I just sort of space them out. Great. Got one more person arriving. That's lovely. Good, good. All right, so just start with that. You'll have them spaced out across the page. Got 2 people just tuning in. And then in a second color, I just drew some lines across. And with this, again, I noticed my level of focus or concentration with how easy or how difficult it was to draw lines, and was just having them flow across the page. And you can dive in whenever you're ready with people who've just coming in. And sometimes I do a few guidelines, so I do a few lines at different points across the page. And that helps me be able to fit other lines sort of in between, and makes it, you can just tune out then. But that's up to you. And just drawing lines across the page and going around the shapes. And just noticing all these little boulders or rocks or things we're navigating in the world. And take the time to just drift across the page. And again, with these drawings, sometimes there's something you kind of like. A lot of times they're not. A lot of times it's just a process to slow the brain down, and you can just toss them away at the end, and that's just fine. So just navigating along the page and allowing your thoughts to come to the drawing, and just stay with making marks on paper for this time that we have together. I'm gradually just building up this pattern. And you may find that you fill up a page faster than I do, and you might do another drawing, and that's just fine. Yeah, because you can always tear something up and start again. It's not about judging what's going on for now. Often it's fun to just play, and you get more ideas or do more interesting things when you're not worried about the end result, and you're just hanging out with whatever it is that's flowing out of your hands today. And when you're drawing on your own, yeah, you can work silently or draw to music, whatever helps you feel connected. But getting creative can be a really powerful way to tap into an aliveness and an energy, a place of clarity when life events sort of blow you off course. And even when they don't, they can allow you to have a quiet mind and get into a sense of flow. And with these, there's a wonderful sense of inevitability because you can see the pattern building up. And there's something rather pleasing about that. Yeah, and I've done these drawings in different colors. That brings up different associations. This one to me brings up rivers. And I used to do whitewater rafting, and so before a rapid, you'd always get out and you'd read a river, and you'd see where the eddies were and where the deep water was and where the dangerous bits were, and you'd watch the flow of the water, and this kind of reminds me of that. You can just tune into the drawing, making marks on paper. Hello, CC, welcome. Good to see you. And CC, we just started by drawing some circles on paper, spread out. And then slowly we're just drawing around them. So just dive in whenever you're comfortable. And you can follow what I'm doing or make up your own version, and both of those are just fine. What I'm doing can be inspiration for something else, or you can just draw along with what I'm doing. Sometimes I don't want to have to think too much about how to begin. And there are different times you can play around with working with different markers or different pencils. or holding your marker in a different way or in a different hand, and finding what those marks feel like and what different kinds of marks that they make. And you could also do a version of this, and instead of the circles, you could draw little images of different things that were going on. They could be symbols of events or people. And with the different inspirations or different exercises, I find that there are always certain marks that I really enjoy making, and then sometimes there are marks that just don't resonate. So you can find that too, and that's perfectly valid. Sometimes I want to make long flowing lines, and sometimes I really want to make zigzags or more vigorous marks. This one's more the flowing river. And also you can turn your page around. You don't have to hold it in the same direction. If you want to access a certain part of it, you can switch it around. And whatever it is that makes it easy for you to draw. When drawing lines, I find I need to position my page so it's easy to slide my hand across the page. And just check in with your breath. And take a few extra deep breaths. And filling up the page. In a minute, I'm going to turn it around and work on the other side. You can notice with your pens, with your markers, whatever you're drawing with, what it's like if you change the pressure. If it gives you a different mark, it gives you a different line. And then you can fill in your little gaps or leave them. Add to your drawing in different ways. That's up to you. I'm going to swap it around so that I can get to the other edge. And just slowly, my river is building up. I'm just noticing the rocks or the obstacles or the things that I've dealt with. I'm slowly drawing across the page. And just for this time period, trying to keep my mind in the present. If other thoughts come up, that's fine. Then I just come back to what I'm doing here. And letting my brain unwind. I suppose this could also be wood and little knots in the wood where the branches go. This could have lots of different references. Oh, and I saw a lovely quote yesterday. It said, To my fellow artists, my hope for you today is that you're inspired, that you get to squeeze somebody's hand, hear someone's story, be the receiver of smiles, open your heart to new information, spark an idea, and make great connections. I thought that was lovely. And what we're doing here with starting to make marks and just following a particular prompt gets you to move and begin on a page before you get worried about what it's going to look like. Yeah, so that one's kind of full. You might be faster or slower than me, that's just fine. All right, I'm going to do another one. Actually, two, isn't it? Yes. So this one I did geometric. And so you can start, or shall I pause this for a minute? All right. Do you want to just unmute yourself for a second and check in? I'm curious if that was if you were sort of finished with your page, or if you were slower or faster, what that was like. Nancy, do you want to check in? Oh, lost your picture, but you're still there. There we go. We've got you. Just, you're still muted though. Oh, that's right. You're on your phone and it's different. It's always different, isn't it? Nope, we can't hear you yet. But
Nancy, you're still muted.
yeah. All right. Carol, would you like to check in, and we'll sort when Nancy sorts herself out, we'll check back in.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting and rather calming exercise. I like the drawings in the handout a lot. But then I'd like most of the mark making you have done over the last year or so. As I was working, I used a black pen to make my spots. There's I don't know if you can read it because the red is a pencil and it's not real dark. As I was working with it, I began to be very dissatisfied with the black dots. It doesn't matter, but I was still this little niggly thought of, I'm not liking these black dots. I wish I had done a different pencil. I couldn't find my colored pens, and I didn't want to use a marker because the markers I have tend to bleed and they're not very sharp points. And I wanted to do skinny lines. But anyway, the spotty tendency of this is a little upsetting. And so it kind of interferes with the exercise. I wished I had, I don't know, taken a purple pencil or a green pencil or a blue one instead of a black pen. And I've got, it's a Micron, very nice flowing pen, but it's not bleeding, but it's, the contrast is kind of jarring.
So you're just finding your materials, you're annoyed with your
sort
materials.
of fighting the material, exactly, fighting the materials.
Sure.
And that's not the point of it, but at the other end of it, just concentrating on the red lines and going across and trying to make patterns where the line blips up or down was kind of useful.
Great. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Nancy, do you want to check in now?
Yeah, it's interesting that you were saying about the pins and the thicknesses and stuff, because I'm using Sharpies and I'm noticing they're not as sharp as I think this exercise would be nice at. And it's like, as you say it, I'm looking at it going, yeah, that is an issue. What's that? But it was fun to create the pattern around the dots. They never quite looked the way I think it's got, but it's like, but at the same time, it's just keep right on flowing along. And so it's like, but it's okay. So that was good, but it was interesting because it was like, after you said that about the thickness of the lines and going, yeah, probably a thinner pencil would be good.
Yeah, I mean, I find just with this one, thinner ones, if you've got them, not that it matters, as you say, it can be sort of satisfying or pleasing, but yeah, got it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Maureen, do you want to check in?
Yes. Now, I wasn't worried about the materials at all. I was thinking about what you said about looking at roadblocks, and I was reminded of when I learned to drive. At first, you just see all the cars and you have to learn to look for the gaps, And so, whereas at first I was looking at the rocks, how do I get around this? Then I sort of got into the flow and moved around them, like as if you were driving and looking for the gaps, that kind of thing. So I found that exercise really calming and useful. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand the driving reference. Certainly, yes. At first, you're just like, and navigating, and then after a while, you just know how to drive, and you just move around things, and it becomes easier. Yeah, sure.
That's right.
Suzanne, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. I started off. Sorry if I sound strange. I've just been to the dentist and I've got half a mouth wearing off. So anyway, so I'm a bit lopsided today. So I loved it. I was starting to draw. When I saw the handout, I thought, oh, isn't that beautiful? I want to do that. I picked a silver and an aqua color, which I'm not sure about, but and anyway, I started out doing the dots and started to draw the lines, and then I thought, it's not looking like yours. Okay, I'm going to do some different things then. So I actually added in different symbols and stuff like that. It looks like a bit of a mishmash, and it certainly got into a mishmash towards the end. I don't know what that says for my state of mind right now, but I actually found it quite creative. I don't know if you can see it, but it wound up being a little all over the place. It's not exactly a work of art, but it certainly is something that I got to observe myself through.
Yeah, and hey, it doesn't have to be an artwork. It could be just play and kind of fun, and isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Yes.
If you ever want to
symbols,
if you want to redo something and have it be, whatever you envisioned, I redo things.
I loved yours, but it didn't seem to be flowing out of my hand.
Well, it's just as well that they're all different. And
yeah, true.
I mean, I always find it inspiring just to see the different approaches and the different, what we each do. And it's, it's not about good or bad, because sometimes it's just like, oh, wow, that's just a different line or a different tool or whatever. So
it's actually interesting because I don't know, I turned myself on mute in the middle of all of this. My cat was having a meltdown in the background and sort of leaping in the air and whacking at things and climbing behind my computer and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, that might be why it was a little fractured. I don't know, but I can't really blame her. But yes, I found it still drawing the lines and focusing on that. I found that incredibly helpful.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, it's really interesting just to see the response to the different creative prompts. Yep. Barbara, would you like to check in?
Well, I had fun with this. This is very much like a Zentangle pattern that I've done before, that I've also had a lot of fun with little eyes peeping out and mountains peeping out of the lines. But I was using a calligraphy pen to go around my obstacles. So it ended up this big fat line, which I'm not used to. I'm used to doing those little fine Zentangles. So one thing I really liked about it was that I got rid of the, it has to be a perfect Zentangle thing. It can be floppy. It cannot hit in the right place. It doesn't have to, like my things are round. It doesn't have to be perfect. All that stuff that goes on my brain without even trying.
Yes,
And,
yes. No, I
got into the
understand.
play, and I just watched the pen make marks across, and some of them I liked and some of them I didn't like, and I thought, oh, interesting.
Yep, 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 understood. Yeah. Molly, would you like to check in?
Unmute here. There we go. I like this one, I think, about the best because there were fewer decisions to make. Just, you know, 2 colors and simple lines. The one with all the curly cues and choice, there are just too many choices. And so this was much more meditative for me. And I kind of rushed through it because I wanted to try something.
Yeah.
I tried a grid,
Oh.
and here's colors, and I like it better as one color.
Ah, yeah. Yep.
Just an idea.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I've also done. I've got one session that's weaving. So yeah, you've obviously gone in that direction, which is wonderful. Yep, got you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that's a really useful comment of having things that you don't have so many decisions to make. Who else has felt that they appreciate some of the drawings that are simpler, that you have less decisions? Just wave at the camera.
Well, especially for me, where I don't do art or drawing 2-dimensional kinds of things. And so it takes a lot more energy to make those decisions, whereas somebody like you who's used to doing art, those ideas come and flow easily.
Yeah. Okay, sure. No, that's a really useful comment. As as an artist, I'm always thinking of choices and other possibilities, and but that can be exhausting. So that makes absolute sense. So yeah, thanks. Mina, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I didn't go into this drawing thinking that I wanted to create anything. It was, I'm kind of used to doodling around and with my pen or with whatever I have at hand, and just making lines or circles. So for me, it was just about flowing into it and just drawing those lines and going with whatever I had on my desk. And I went a little faster than you, so I did a few more.
Great.
So it wasn't so much about really creating anything or whether this looks good or not, but ultimately they all just look good.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I find you end up experimenting more when you're not worried about results.
Yeah.
Which is sort of backwards, because often, I come up with interesting things when I'm not trying to be interesting. And certainly there are plenty of times when I have drawings that are pretty awful and I just go, that's interesting. I like those colors, but I'll just let it go. So yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Let's see.
Jane.
Yes.
Jane. Your comments just now reminded me of something that has been on my mind for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And what it comes down to is get over yourself. It isn't important. It really isn't important in the bigger scheme. And just the repetitive, ordinary work, the end result is going to be pleasing, whether it's art or not. It doesn't really matter if it's art or not, because art is not that easily categorized. So if you start out wanting to create art, get over yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And quite honestly, there's some art that I see in galleries that sells for thousands of dollars, and you think, really? Really? So yeah, it's a very subjective thing anyway. So yeah, I certainly agree. Yes. Let's see. Barbara, would you like to add anything?
I did already.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes. I love your
That's
colors,
okay.
by the way. Yes.
My which?
Your aqua and your lilac. I like your colors.
Oh, thank you.
My wedding dress was that aqua, and Nancy's wearing the same color. Yes. Stefania, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I was kind of like really loose, and I think I allowed myself to be imperfect, you know, because usually I'm just such a perfectionist. And I used this exercise to like get out of my body. You know, sometimes like I've got a bit of a headache and I feel a bit not out of sorts this morning. So I kind of used it where I just didn't want to focus on my body. So I just was trying to feel like I was having an out of body experience. That kind of makes sense. I don't know.
No, just to go into flow and let go of.
Yeah, and I was like, you know, just sighing, just breathing and releasing at the same time, and I found it was really good. And I kind of looking at it, and it's definitely, you know, it's not perfect. Well, what is perfect? But like I was even crossing over lines, and you know how we try and not cross lines, or we try and be parallel, and I didn't. I just allowed it. It was okay. You know, I can do this. It's not going to upset anybody. It's not, because really ultimately we judge it, and that's what. Yeah. And then I at the end, I didn't go right to the end on one side, so I started doing like and I know you said, oh, think of it like a river or a sea and the waves, and I said, oh, this can be the sand, you know. So I just allowed myself to just imagine. Which helped me get out of my body. So it worked.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, yeah. Did I miss anybody? Anyone else want to speak up? Just wave on camera. Elizabeth.
I was really relating to what Molly said about it being just how simple it was. And I was enjoying the fluidity of it. And especially, I think, coming after the breathing exercise where we were just breathing and not drawing, I found that to be much more helpful and calming. I find sometimes when I'm trying to do the breathing and drawing at the same time, each thing is distracted by the other. And I kind of trip up on that a little bit, whereas this was much easier. And then heading into the exercise was easier as well. And plus it was just such a lovely, simple exercise. And it reminded me a lot of the kinds of, you know, doodly things I used to do when I was a kid. So I was enjoying that.
Great. Yep. Thanks. Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, the simplicity. Thank you. That's really good to speak up about that, to understand. Yeah, that's good. Simple is fine. Yeah. Yeah. Got you. And I think in future on the breath work, I will say, hey, that you can draw or not draw. Because then if somebody's got a busy mind and the drawing helps keep them present, fine. And if it's sort of an interruption and too many things to do at the same time, that's okay too. That, yeah, I think that's a good reminder to say, hey, sometimes just let's focus on the breathing and leave it at that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. Okay, great. Okay, we'll go back to the, okay, share screen. So another piece of paper and a couple markers, up to you. And this time I did something geometric, and that's up to you. Also on the worksheet, I did one that sort of had jacks on it, sort of interesting sort of symbol things. You can use any sort of mark that you like. And sometimes I've done this where I drew the lines and then left gaps and drew the shapes in later. And some in the video, I've done the shapes first and then drawing the lines around them. So you can work either way. And yeah, you can see what I'm doing now. So yeah, and you can work in the same colors, you can work in different colors. So I began by just drawing a bunch of shapes. And for this, it was rectangles. sort of long bars, and just sort of space them out across the page. Makes it an interesting pattern. You can group them any way you like. It can be geometric or realistic. You can do them all the same sort of shapes, squares or rectangles, triangles. Something that's just simple to fill the page. And just spacing out, and so have things flow around them. And I've done this one a few times, so I had different drawings, and sometimes my spacing works really well and the lines flow easily, and sometimes they don't, and that's both okay. We get to turn off the inner critic and just say, hey, it's just a drawing, just a nice way to spend a little time. And then just starting from one side and drawing some lines across. In this one, I happen to work with a really fine pink pen. And you'll work with whatever you have, and that's okay too. And just drawing some lines across the page and seeing what it feels like to make long flowing lines. And sometimes it's helpful to do a few guidelines at different spots across the page. That's just up to you. And each drawing will look a bit different depending if you've got fat markers or thin markers, calligraphy markers or Sharpies. For me, I was just focusing on the lines and noticing the spaces.
Sorry, y'all.
Yep.
I don't know how to get back to my page. And oh shoot, that's my friend from Australia. Well, I'll call her back in a few minutes. But I lost my Zoom window.
Right. Yep. Yeah, so just focus on your marker and the page. And I find that where the lines are further apart, it sort of seems like it's slowing down, as it's a bit like in a river. Where the lines become closer together, it looks like they sped up. And for much of it, I was trying to keep the lines sort of beside each other, but you can also cross them over and loop them if you want. So the way you approach this is up to you. Just drawing slowly, flowing lines across a page. Giving yourself this little time out. I've read about memory, and the goal with memory is to figure out what to forget. And I thought that's an awesome thing, because the brain has to decide what's unimportant that you don't have to catalog before it can get to, okay, what are we going to remember? And I thought that was a rather interesting perspective, and your brain needs time out of gear to integrate and figure out what to remember and where to place it in what context, so that you can remember it, find it in our filing system. And I think doing things like this allow your brain that time to be out of gear, to just drift for a while and flow along. Just moving across the page and noticing the friction, how much resistance there is on the page with different papers. And whatever marker or pencil that you're working with, what does that feel like on the page? And slowly filling it up, working around different obstacles or interruptions, building up a pattern. And with each of these, you'll have access to the finished course, and you can rewatch them and do different drawings every time. And just notice your breath once in a while. Take a few deep breaths. You can sigh loudly. You can also just notice the noises around you. I've got a garbage truck going by, picking up the garbage bins out front. Just notice the sounds that are around you. And even when a room is silent, there's usually some noises that we take for granted or don't notice anymore. Bird calls and clocks ticking. And you can just notice what the noises are around you. So it was interesting when you travel and you notice all sorts of noises that really irritate you, and yet if you lived there, so many of those noises would disappear into the background and you wouldn't hear them at all. Yeah, and remember that you can turn your page around to reach different sides. And just gradually build up your page. And again, you might work faster or slower than me, and that's absolutely fine. And just filling up the page. Just got a little more time here just for us to hang out and draw together. Yeah, and the character of the lines is always a bit different whenever I do this. Sometimes I've got a clear focus and sometimes I don't. Yeah, and you can fill in little shapes and the gaps or not. It seems like when the lines come together, it feels like it moves faster, the river. But yeah, this is also very much like wood grain or other things. Yeah. And so we'll just pause there, checking the different drawings that we've done. Kathy, when I see you, I'm thinking hot chocolate.
It's actually just hot water.
Oh, I do that too sometimes, actually. People think I'm strange, but sometimes I'm very sensitive to caffeine. So late at night, I can't drink tea or coffee, but yeah.
I just felt like I need to be warm inside. So I thought hot water will do it. So yeah.
What's the weather like where you are?
So I'm in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and today the sky was blue in the morning, but kind of crisp. It was about mid-30s, so something like I don't know, -1 or 2.
Yeah. Yep.
And or close to 0. Yeah. And then I chaperoned a trip with kids. I was in rollerblading with 200 7th graders.
Oh my gosh.
And then after that, I installed an art piece called Yard Art in Watertown. And I made 23 poppies out of plywood. They're like dinner plate size. And they're on a 4-foot garden stake. Anyway, each of them is on a 4-foot garden stake. So I had a lot of time outside, and I think it just sort of made me feel chilled. So I'm actually wearing my pajamas under my sweater. There are lots of illusions. I could actually have something that's not that's medicinal of another sort in my cup. That really is helpful.
Yes. I think rollerblading with 200 7th graders is, yeah, that's a busy day. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think the bus, because we had to ride a school bus, one of those cute little yellow school buses both ways for about an hour each way, and the heater wasn't always on, and I just got a chill. So but I raced home because I was looking forward to this, and I think that part of it is just I do like the idea of having limitations on what we're going to do in the mark making. I think it helps to focus, and it helps to I don't know, have your 2 feet on the ground before you then launch into something else. And I have to say, I like these 2-directional flow interrupted rather than the one. And I think that metaphor of obstacles and moving on, getting through it, around it, whatever, is very good. And the what do you focus on? I think that could be very helpful. And I don't know, I think that some of the things that we've done here might be back of the envelope time fillers, because sometimes you're waiting for something, or you're in a place where you really feel very unproductive, but you're sort of, it's like wiggling your foot or something, when you're sitting. I think that having some of these little sketches that you can do can maybe I don't know, help you stay focused on what you should be staying focused on and not get irritated.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I if I go away for the weekend or something, I often bring some of the worksheets with me just to have some marks for beginning something. And especially if my brain is busy, or I want to do something creative, but I don't have the headspace to figure out, what I want to draw, that, big question of trying to do something important.
Some of these patterned, I mean, if you think about making sheets of patterned paper, I think I like to make books and do book binding. And I could definitely see making sheets of paper that I use as end papers or covers, or anyway.
Yeah, another thing you can do with this is sometimes I do drawings in black and white, just on white paper, and then I can photocopy it on different colored papers. And I've used that, for greeting cards or book covers, or, and then if you just get one good drawing, if you photocopy it, then you get 10 good drawings, and that can be, satisfying. And especially if you're, sometimes you want a result, or you want to do something with it. And that's, a way you can multiply the ones that you happen to like when you want to use them. Yeah. Suzanne, do you want to add anything? Check in. You're muted.
I did not like the color combination that it wound up feeling pretty in my face. And I was listening to what some of the other ladies said about just letting it go and letting it be as it is. And so then I thought, well, I would never put a deep maroon and a kind of a pinky purple together. I thought they would go rather interestingly, but they didn't, in the way that I thought they would. But they're fine. And I really enjoyed the exercise. And I found myself criticizing where I had placed my oblongs. And because I had not made it easy for myself to move around the obstacles. And then I thought, interesting. Where do I do that? So I found it quite, when I let go of that, I found it quite fun. So thank you. Very useful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I remember years ago speaking to a guy, young guy, in some business networking thing. And he said, oh gosh, when I used to go skiing, I'd have all these accidents and I kept running into trees. And he realized that when he was skiing, he was always looking at the trees, like looking at the obstacles. And he literally kept running into trees and having all these accidents. He was 23 or 24 or something. And and then he realized he was looking at the trees. He was looking at the obstacles all the time.
Straight for them.
It's so obvious to, when you see it, when you realize what you're doing. And then he was saying, and then I started looking at the spaces and skiing into the spaces. And lo and behold, I didn't have accidents. And I love that because, he was so amazed at the change in what was happening in his life. And it was just such a beautiful way. And, like talking about the driving, that every once in a while, I realize I'm looking at the trees and I keep seeing trees. And then there are other times when I can see the spaces and I ski into the spaces. And I guess this is sort of an exercise a bit about that, and you get to notice, where are you looking right now?
It was a great metaphor, because what I wound up finding was that I actually started to use the space. Once I got past that, I found I was using the space quite creatively. So whether it looks beautiful or not was kind of irrelevant. It was just a great process. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. Maureen, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I was agreeing there that it was the process. For me, I enjoy doing art and painting and that, but I find if I focus on the painting, on the art side of this, I'm losing the meditation side. So I focus as much as possible on the meditation, and then the drawing, it just happens, but it's a process. It's not something I want to do something with.
Yep. Yeah. Deb, do you want to say anything? Wow.
I use pat markers.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
And I did jacks.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
So that was fun.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
And what was that like for you?
It was meditative.
Because you're used to drawing and doing lots of art. So do you find it easier to begin, or what's it like when you get prompts that are different than you might do?
Well, I'm not sure I know how to answer that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know if sometimes it's annoying to draw something that's not your idea, or if it's.
Oh, no, I didn't feel that way. However, when I first started, I didn't put enough dots on, and it just was weak. So I started over.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Mina, would you like to say anything?
It was very meditative. I think for me, when I came across the obstacle while I was drawing the lines, I just kind of, I ran out of space. So I moved on to the next space, and then I started filling the spaces up with other interesting shapes in there. So I think it was different for me. It was, you can't find the space, you just move on and, tackle the next thing.
Oh, I like that. That's a lovely metaphor. Beautifully said. Thank you. Yeah. Let's see. And who else is there? Nancy, do you want to check in? Or Molly? Is there a few? Nancy, are you able to unmute? Is that? I don't think. Yeah, you have to unmute. No, no, you're not muted. There you go. Nope, you're still muted. We just lost your picture. The joys of being on a phone instead of a computer or an iPad. You're traveling, aren't you? You're in Maine. Yeah. Away from home. We'll come back to you. Nope, there you go. Maybe, no.
While Nancy's figuring it out,
you go
I'll go
ahead.
ahead. I'll go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah. I had, unlike Deb, I had too many marks. And I kept trying to anticipate with the line. Now, is this going to be one line away from the mark, or is it going to be 2 lines, so it needs to be smoother? And I should have started over. But it was interesting because I was planning the whole time rather than just doing.
Oh,
Yep. Yep. I hear you. Yep. Very good. Nancy, are you, yep, there she goes. Hi.
Yeah, I have no understanding of this. This one, instead of doing smooth lines, I just sort of zigzagged along and curly cued along because doing straight just seemed too hard. I don't know. It was a little strange. But it is relaxing, which I wouldn't have expected, like going around and stuff. But by not thinking in terms of just that the line needed to be straight and that letting it have edges and stuff, it was a little easier for me to just sort of focus on letting go, if that makes any sense. Maybe it's because everything in my brain's jiggling around. I have no idea.
Yeah, I sort of found with doing this, once I made one mistake, or it wasn't the way I thought I wanted it, I sort of relaxed, because then I didn't have to make it right, whatever that was. And my little critic sort of was like, Jean, just let it go, for goodness sakes, just let it go. It is whatever it is. Yeah, and yep, that's fine, Suzanne. Yep.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
We can
Bye.
have a Zoom call another time. I'd be glad to have a chat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Me too. Thanks.
But yeah, sort of making whatever I thought was a mistake gave me permission to just relax and let go of the result and go with what was there. And yeah, sometimes that was rather a relief, or a good thing.
It made it easier because I was like, I don't have to think about it.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah.
Yes, Barbara, any comments?
yeah. I'll check in. I kind of did something different with that. Since I was on the dark paper, I used the white.
Yep.
And yeah, it just kept becoming something else. I have no idea.
Yep.
My thoughts just left it completely, and I kept following the lines around the page and having a good time.
Yeah. Just really interesting
Some of those
geometric.
just
I would love it
spirals
if you could just take some phone photos of these, just hold them up against the wall and just take some photos, because your drawings are all so different than mine, and it's really lovely just to see different directions you took it in. So yeah.
Well, I saw a glimpse of what you were doing where lines were coming together, but then I couldn't remember what it was doing exactly. So mine didn't come together in the same way, and I didn't like what's happening. And then I got a FaceTime call from my friend in Australia in the middle of that session. So I got kicked off Zoom and got all confused, got all technologically blonde.
Yep. Stefania, do you want to speak up?
Yes, I
Thanks.
thoroughly enjoyed that one. That one was really meditative, and I just flowed. I picked a green and a pink, and I think the contrasting colors were quite good. I kind of think that maybe, not that I'm so focused on colors and shapes, but definitely color does have an effect on me. So I think I've got to be aware of that. So yeah, that was really interesting. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly. And a lot of what the other lady said, can't remember who it was, but just looking at it as an obstacle course where, you know, can't do it, we'll just move around it, go through it. It's okay, just move on, keep going. Because I think sometimes in the mind, we can get very stuck, and the subconscious mind sometimes can kick in where we go back to, you know, certain habits, and we, you know, freeze and stop, fear. Yeah. I think that was great. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, great. Good. Yep.
I'm gonna check out. Bye-bye, everyone.
That's
It was fun
fine.
again.
Yep.
Thanks. Thanks,
Yep.
Jean.
Hi, Molly.
Yep. Elizabeth, do you want to say anything? We'll be finishing.
Pretty much the same. I was enjoying just continuing doing it as I was listening to everybody else. I found the rectangles kind of challenging in a way as far as getting around them, but you know, I think I would probably stick with more round objects or something more compact, but yeah, I still enjoyed it, and it certainly gave me a very different looking pattern than what I had before with the first one. So
Yes. Okay. Good. Yeah. And with the different prompts, I played around with many different kinds of patterns, and I think one of the things that I wanted to do was just have all different kinds of drawings and marks. And you know, at the end of the workshop, you've just got all these different drawings you never might have done before, and gives you new places to begin.
yes.
Yeah, and also with these, you know, at the end, you know, when it's put into a course, which will be about a month from now, you'll get all the recordings and you can redraw them and redraw them. And some of these I've done 6 times. And, you know, once I sort of know what the marks are, then I can just sort of tune out the world faster and just sort of go into it. And it helps me just sort of go into the flow of forgetting and just drawing. And so you can play with this with, you know, different colors, different materials, different whatever. And yeah, as Barbara was saying, sometimes I've worked on dark paper with a paint marker or a white pencil, and just to swap the colors around, having dark, you know, light on dark instead of dark on light. And sometimes it's just doing the same one over and over, it just to tune out the world, and because the brain's been busy. So all those are, yeah, good ideas. Good. Yeah. Carol, did you want to say?
Jean, I'm going to have to go too and see if I can find if my friend is still home.
Yep, no, that's fine. We'll be finishing up. So that's, yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you for this, and thank you to everybody.
Yeah, it's been a really lovely group. Thank you so much for all your contributions. And yeah, one thing I will do is I'll just send you a page with all the different images on them, and tell me what seemed too complex and what you liked better or worse. And I'll just send that in a simple email. So, but great. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And it's been just lovely to work with all of you. Just really lovely. All right.
Thank
take
you.
care. Yep.
Take care, everybody.
I just have a quick question, Jen.
Yes, go for it.
I missed out on Wednesdays.
Yep.
Is there any chance of having the recording? Of
I
that?
will send out, I had a tech problem, so I couldn't do the video I was planning.
Oh,
And I haven't quite solved that. So I wasn't able to do the video of the drawing that we were going to do. So when I solve that tech problem, I will send it to you. But I'll also send you another video of one other session that I recorded before. So you can just do that drawing anyway. So you'll have another session to play with.
all right. So that's the session of what happened on Wednesday, obviously.
Yep. So we did a breathwork exercise. We didn't end up doing a drawing because of the tech problem.
Okay, got it. All right then.
So you
Thank
did
you.
miss.
Thanks,
I have
everybody.
a quick question for Nancy Guppy. Where are you in Maine?
Am I still on? Oh, am I still on?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, great. I'm not new. I'm in Cumberland.
Cumberland. Okay, I don't really know where that is. I'm going to be in Portland on Saturday.
No, I'll be driving back to Massachusetts on Saturday.
Okay.
Because I'm working up here in Maine and I'm going back and forth. And so I'm often up in Maine. I'm working with an elderly woman. And so I'm often up here like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I go back on Saturday, and then I'm back in Boston like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then I come back up on Wednesday. But yeah. So that's
I just was curious. Sorry, I
Yep.
don't mean to
Yeah.
take anyone's
No,
time.
Sorry,
in another
no,
session, I
sorry,
had three
sorry.
people who were from
Yeah.
North Carolina on the call, and I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? Wonder if you're going to bump into each other in the street someday. So,
Yeah.
it's rather delightful. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody. Thanks, Elizabeth,
Yeah.
and Carol, and Kathy, and Nancy, and Nina, and
Yeah.
Amy. Yeah.
Good night.
All right.
Thanks,
morning.
everybody.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. I hope I see you again soon, Kathy.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Take
Okay.
care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Jane.
Yep.
Okay.
Virginia, are you there? I'll say hello if you are. Hello, hello. No, you're not there. Okay. Oh, hello, you are. I'll hang in. You're on mute.